Good evening, and you're very welcome to Rathkeil for this evening's Irish Wire Products Limerick Senior Football Championship clash. It is a meeting of Newcastle West and Kildimo Pallaskenry. My own name is Tom Clancy. I'll be on commentary duty for this one, and delighted to say I'm joined by former Limerick manager Billy Lee for this one. Billy, first of all, I have the sunglasses on, you've the shorts on, we both have the shorts on. A super evening for a game of football. Very hot day. I'm sure the players are looking forward to it, and I suppose it's an evening where fluids and indeed a deep bench and panel will be needed.
Yeah, indeed. Sure, it's wonderful conditions for the game of football, and look, that's what we'd hope to see. Tonight is a lovely game of football, played in the right spirit, and both teams had an open round victory, so I'm sure they're both brimming with confidence as they head into tonight. Kildimo have been working hard over the last number of years, and they've probably established themselves as a really competitive senior football team now. And Newcastle, obviously, their record for the last couple of years has been outstanding. So, look, hopefully we get a very entertaining game tonight, very open game of football, and we go from there. Yeah,
anyone who saw the stream of the Munger St. Paul's game against Newcastle West will have seen what these new rules could do to our game here in Limerick, to the club game. There was 2-pointers galore, there was end-to-end stuff. I think Munger raced into a lead, but Newcastle West pegged him back, and even right to the finish it was to the wire. So hopefully we're going to get another game like that here this evening, and hopefully that's what this championship will roll out as in the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I saw the highlights of it. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the game, but I thought there was some wonderful scores on both sides. If scores like that would be scored by some of the top teams in the country, they'd be really spoken about in social media. There was wonderful scores, and actually, look, no doubt, with the success of the county team this year, I think people are on a bounce, and it just shows they can play football as good as anybody in the country, and just play on the front foot. And as you say, rightly said, the new rules have made a huge difference to the game of football, and badly needed. But at least the management teams and players up and down the country are embracing them.
Yeah, well, we're expecting frantic 60 minutes of football here. These two sides met last week in hurling at this very venue. That was a draw, so who knows, we may have back-to-back draws between Newcastle West and Kildimo Pallaskenry. We'll be coming back shortly with team news, so do stay tuned.
DB Printers, general printing for headed paper, business cards and complimentary slips. All types of memoriam and acknowledgement cards, posters, tickets, flyers, lottos, NCR docket books, etc. DB Printers, Newcastle West. Best of luck to Newcastle West footballers this evening. O'Sullivan Centre Clarina, your one-stop shop. From Rooster's Piri Piri to Caramico Pizza, Centre Clarina satisfies every craving. Pamper your pouch at our wash and wag station, or grab a coffee at the Creamery Cafe and relax in our seating area. Experience it all at Centre Clarina.
You're very welcome back to the Bog Garden here in Rathkeil. It is the Irish Wire Products Limerick Senior Football Championship clash between Kildimo Pallaskenry and Newcastle West, and we'll just take a look at the starting 15s for this one, starting with the men in the blue and white corner. That's Kildimo Pallaskenry, and they show one change to the team that was published here for spectators in the match programme. So Kevin Walsh is their goalkeeper. Vice-captain Eddie McLaughlin joins James Ranahan and Shane O'Sullivan in the full back line. Ethan Brown and Cian O'Sullivan are the wing-backs. Kieran Barry, wearing number 19, replaces Tony McCarthy, the team captain. Davy Fitzgerald and Cathal Downs are at midfield. Shawnee Hartigan, Kieran Mahan and Jose Asparadi are the half-forward line. Kieran Galvin, Peter Nash and Sean Kavanagh are the inside line. Taking a look at Newcastle West, and their side is published 1-15, but we do expect a couple of significant positional changes, as was the case in the opening round of the championship. Mike Quilligan is the team goalkeeper. Evan Sheehan, Michael Kremlin and Brian O'Sullivan, the full back line. Seamus Hurley, the vice captain. Ian Corbett, the team captain, and Aaron Neville are at 5, 6 and 7. Lee Wolfe and Sean Murphy were the midfield numbers. Todd Donovan, Thomas Quilligan and Brian Hurley are the half-forward line, while the inside line has familiar names in the form of Brian Foley, Mike McMahon and Owen Hurley. So the referee as well, just to mention him for this one, is from St. Senan's. That's Jonathan Hayes, very experienced match official in the county and beyond. In the last few years, you see he's gone through his own pre-match routine with a couple of solos that previously would have lined out, of course, for his own club in fine Shanagolden. And delighted to say Billy Lee joins me here in the commentary box. Billy, as we said already, fantastic evening for football. The teams more or less as selected. What are we expecting so from this game?
Well, we're hoping it'll be an attacking game of football, played in good spirit, and plenty of scores in it. I suppose both teams are missing some key players. Obviously Tony McCarthy is out, and Kyle unfortunately got injured last weekend, and Newcastle seems to be missing Emmet Richter and Brian Nick. So Yeah, so look, it's given an opportunity for lads to put their hands up, and obviously when the lads come back and they're fit to play later in the championship, it'll bring competition for both teams, and that's what managements look like for. It's an ideal day for football. I mean, if we were back in the day, you'd just love to be playing a game of football in conditions like this. So look, we hope we have a good game, very good referee on show. Jonathan's gone up the ladder, as you rightly said, and it's good to see that too, because we know we've got quality refereeing our games. Referees going for a lot of stick, and sometimes we forget about there's always good referees in every place, So
yeah, and Jonathan on the national panel this season, so would have officiated and been involved in officiating teams across the Alliance Leagues, and I think in some championship games as well. But the sides going through their final routines, Newcastle West in a huddle to our right, Kildimo Pallaskenry kept taking a few shots. We mentioned the names missing, but nevertheless there's some serious talent on show for both teams. You look no further in the Kildimo Pallaskenry team than Peter Nash had a fantastic year with Limerick. There's some other young players that I like the look of there. Shawnee Hartigan at number 10 and Carl Downs, and I think Carl Downs is someone who, if he had a wish list maybe a couple of years ago, would have been for a 2-point shot, because he's one of the best kickers of football in this county when he's on form, and thankfully his injuries seem to have healed up as well. Yeah,
look, Carl was a man back in at the end of 21 season I was hoping to bring into the senior setup, but unfortunately he just couldn't commit at the time. He was in there since, and he stepped away for whatever reason, so it would be nice to see him back in. He's a really good footballer, great capability. He's always had that, because when I was underage manager there, he was on the radar as well, but he was playing hurling with the academy and hurling, so he's a really talented footballer, and it'd be nice to see him back in the green and white at some point.
Absolutely, yeah. And for Newcastle West, obviously Ian Corbett jumps off the page, but Mike McMahon rolling back the years last week, 2-1 in the hurling, and he's more than capable of footballer. We saw a lovely two-pointer from him in round one as well, so we know what Mike's about, even at this the twilight of his career, shall we say.
Yeah, so look, you've got to hand it to him. He's touching 40 nearly, and still passionate for the club, and still passionate from playing, and keeping himself in great order, and that's no easy achievement. When you push on in years. So look, he's remarkable, and he's a leader of the team, and younger lads look up to him. They would watch him winning championships over the years. So
yeah, so the ball is thrown in, and Mike McMahon loses it over Carl Downs, and the clean possession though goes to Newcastle West. So we're expecting positional changes. Peter Nash was the second midfielder, if you like, for Kildimo Palace for the throw-in, and immediately it is the Magpies who carried the ball forward, and with just 12 allowed back, that's what Kildimo Pallaskenry have done. They're 12 back, and ball is sent inside. Looking for the first turnover of the game. There's a blue jersey coming out with it. It was spilled by number 19, Kieran Barry. So back it comes towards Mike Mahon. He's plenty of time. So he's going to have a go inside. He lofts it in there. Just a little bit overcooked. Out comes the goalkeeper. It breaks for Ian Corbett. Ian Corbett off the left. Oh, he's blazed it.
Great chance to
the left of it, yeah.
Yeah, great chance for Newcastle there. Obviously, the first two balls in, they were directly into one hurley, and he got turned over in the first one, but the lads worked high up the field, turned it back, and Mike put it back in against him, and we got the break, unfortunately, and put it wide. So yeah, it might be a message as to how Newcastle are going to go tonight. They're going to go after the full back line, possibly.
Yeah, it was. I think it was Owen Hurley, wasn't it, beneath the dropping ball?
Yes.
And a good, brave goalkeeping by Kevin Walsh came out and crash bang wallop. He's up, and they're all up, and we're back underway as the kick out from Walsh goes long and direct as Shawnee Hartigan, diminutive but no less potent in attack, gives it to Peter Nash, and Nash just tried to skip inside but forgot to bring the ball with him, and he's lost the possession as Seamus Hurley gets on it, and neat hand pass from him to get Newcastle West rather on the front foot. Aaron Neville on it, just approaching the arc, so he sends it out to Brian Foley in plenty of space as Ian Corbett, as we've seen so often, just can slow the pace and look to dictate things, and he gives it across to Aaron Neville, and in turn it comes out to Brian Hurley, one of the many dual players on display for both teams, particularly for Newcastle West, as the ball is sent back by Owen Hurley. Here's McMahon, and passes it out to a runner having a go at the posts, but it's a rushed effort, didn't set it himself, and it's a second wide for Newcastle West. What do you think of the Kildimo defensive shape there on that one, Billy?
Yeah, they're getting deep. They're going back deep. With their 45 in, they're letting no space inside there. So Newcastle need to move the ball fast, have a bit of weight. They had weight there, and Lee Wolf wasn't quite so accurate from the boot, but they had space, and that's what they'll need to do, because Kildimo set their stall out that they're dropping deep, and it's up to Newcastle to break them down.
Ball breaks to Peter Nash. jinks one way onto his right foot, and now gives it to the man I mentioned a moment ago, Shawnee Hartigan. Like a lot of the forwards, they had a very impressive opening day victory over Ballylanders. Carl Downs got 1-3 off the bench, came on at half time and immediately found a net. Looks in fine fettle here this evening, and it finds its way to Peter Nash, and it's just the 3 up and the 3 back really for both these sides, or the 4 as there is now with the goalkeeper, as Kildimo Pallaskenry through Jose Asparade look to launch their first significant attack, and it's Shane O'Sullivan on the right. Again finds Hartigan, and Hartigan looking for a runner. Here's Carl Downs. Downs is going to take this on, drive through the middle. There's an advantage coming. His arm just pegged back a small bit as Kieran Barry gives it, and the block is taken, and this is a very inviting free for Kildimo Pallaskenry. 44 metres from goal. Not a puff of breeze here this evening, and an ideal opportunity for Carl Downs to test where his accuracy is this evening.
Yeah, and I would say he got on the ball there and he really drove at Newcastle defence, taking him on at pace. Newcastle have attacked a couple of times and they've just played in front of the Kildimo defence, so Carl went straight at Newcastle defence, jinked around him and drew the foul, and look, a chance to kick 2-pointer here now. Yeah,
as it's about 44 metres from goal, so he's outside that 40 metre arc. And an ideal opportunity for him to give them an early foothold. So Downs puts plenty of power behind it, but the accuracy is not there. Doesn't find its target, so that's the first wide for the men from the City division. But obviously further back the N69 than a lot of their compatriots in that division, as Mike Quilligan sends it just outside the arc to Brian Hurley, and Hurley in turn sends it inside. Nice clean goal kick routine there, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Mike is really accurate. He was a great free taker, and he's been playing out the field over the years. Really capable with a ball at his foot. So them kind of kickouts going to be no problem. If Kildimo give him any space, he'll find his target, no problem at all. Yeah, the ball is misguided from a kick and it's turned over. So Kildimo Pallaskenry can come out through Kieran McMahon, and they can recycle it through the back. Shane O'Sullivan on possession. And it's notable now that Peter's gone into the full forward line. He's staying up the field. The initial forwards, he was out around the middle. Now he's moved on into and you rightly said he did a great job with the county, so I'm sure he's buzzing with confidence.
Yeah, and he was the top scorer in this championship last season. Sorry, Josh Ryan was, but he was among the top scorers in the last few seasons. It was 2 years ago he won it, but and that's a man that hasn't got to the business end just yet in this championship with his club. But I'll tell you how important he is to their chances, as again there's a turnover.
Yeah, it just takes a bit of time for players when they come back off of playing the county, especially having the Talton Cup and All-Ireland final, so people will just be patient with players when they do come back. It's taken a lot to get there, and it just takes a bit of time just to mentally readjust,
Yeah, and even the club players, it's nearly a month since round one as well, so there's that to factor with too. So maybe a small bit of dirty diesel early on here as Brian Foley carries it through. And again, Kildimo Pallaskenry get into their defensive shape quickly. Mike McMahon spots though that there's a runner out there. The advantage is being played, and it's sent goalward. The umpires agree that it's over. And
Lee Wolf,
I think it was on the end of an earlier move, or maybe it was one of the other players, but Lee Wolf opens the scoring. And a great spot by Mike McMahon, because there was a lot of players over this side and there was the space on the other side, so we're up and running on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and it's kind of similar to the previous player when Lee Wolf had a wide that Mike picked him up with a hand pass, but it was a quick switch and Kildimo couldn't sweep across, so the space was there. Once Lee took his chance, concentrated, it was easy to slip it over.
So possession comes for Newcastle West, dethroned last season, 3 in a row winners before that, so they'll be eager to bring the Daily Cup back again. And we've started with that tight win over Mungret St. Paul's, as you mentioned, a single point in it in the end as ball is carried out. Shane O'Sullivan will gather, and Shane O'Sullivan is pushed, says Jonathan Hayes, and immediately the solo and go is taken. And those solos to go, Billy, they really do speed up the game, don't they?
They're fantastic, it's a great initiative, and it stops the mess and allows people to get on and play the game, and that's what we want to see, so it's been a great addition to the game of football.
It sure has. Is the high challenge there on Davy Fitzgerald, another a bit like Carl Downs, with a distinguished underage hurling career for this county, as he gives it 2 downs and he brings it across. Inside that arc, Downs injects a bit of pace there. Takes a high solo and it's batted away, but it's still with the blue shirts of Kildimo Pallaskenry. They work it around the back. Is there a chance here? It's going to be a hand pass over the bar by Kieran Galvin.
Good score. Good score again. It was notable that it was Cahill that drove it. The heart of the Newcastle West defence, threw in a couple of defenders and found the spearman, and was at the hub of creating the score. So good score.
Yeah, both teams I'm sure happy now to have settled and found the score. What will Mike Quilligan have in his locker this time? A little bit of a better press from Kildimo Pallaskenry, forces him long, looking for McMahon. Downs above him. That'll tell you how high he soared into the sky for that one. And he wins it as gives it out to the wing forward Jose Asparati, and in turn out to McMahon, who's hugging this right touchline early doors, and I'm sure is going to inject plenty of pace as well into that. Gives it to Nash. Nash takes on his number Eddie McLaughlin, or in fact Evan Sheehan I should say. Nash though upended legally so.
A really good recovery tackle by Evan Sheehan, because he was caught flat-footed and Peter went around him, but he got back well and managed to knock the ball away, but without fouling, because I'm sure if it was a foul it was going to be an easy tap over for Kildimo.
Yeah, back at the other end, Thomas Quilligan gets on it. Quilligan, little hand pass inside to Brian Hurley. Hurley comes out of a couple of challenges, both sides looking for a free for different reasons there. It comes back on the loop. Is it kicked? Is it over? It is well to the left and wide. And Sean Murphy, yeah, with the midfielder just bombing on there, but more time maybe than he thought to maybe slow himself up. But the shooting radar not quite working fully yet for Newcastle West. I believe their manager Liam Weir unavailable this evening, so he's trusting in his backroom team to lead this one forward as they turned it over. The fight for possession inside, hacked away by Eddie McLaughlin, but only to give it back to Sean Murphy. Murphy through the middle is going to get a 1-2 here, is he? It's Ian Corbett. Corbett buries it to the top corner, and just like that they've punished the sloppy build-up play from Kildimo Pallaskenry. They weren't able to gain clean possession, not able to keep it, and Ian Corbett, despite wearing 6, definitely operating further up the pitch.
Oh, and yeah, Ian is a midfield, Tom. Yeah, he's out midfield, and look, that was a cracking finish. But Kildimo were disappointed. They got a good kick out away, and just coming out, they were turned over. Look, Newcastle working hard to stop them, but they'll be sickened with that one. But the outstanding finish by Ian. He wasn't. Yeah,
absolutely blasted it to the corner, and the ball is kept in play as Brian Foley is going to get on it. Foley is met there with. Play will go on. Foley comes inside. It was protested, it was out. Ian Corbett hand passes it in around the back. There's a chance of a second goal in quick succession.
Oh,
it's kicked to the net.
They've been caught twice.
Well, a long way from goal. It's just catching who is it?
Brian Sullivan.
Brian Sullivan, sorry, just couldn't catch the number there, but Brian Sullivan in around the back, and it was Corbett's hand pass, wasn't it, that unlocked the defence?
Yeah, it was a breaking ball after kick out from the last goal. Mike knocked it on. That there was a dispute whether people wondered whether it was going to be actual line ball, but Kildimo were probably caught hesitant looking as to whether it was a line ball, as Newcastle boys played on, and obviously Brian snuck in, and fairness to Ian, he showed all his experience there, looking up and picking up the man in behind the defence, and a really good accurate pass, and Kildimo were on the ropes and was small, but another kick on astray, and
yeah, they're taking on water. They're going to need to just get a stop here, really, aren't they, and try and get up to the right of us and up the pitch for a minute or two. But two quick goals has certainly changed the outlook of this game in very quick succession. So Newcastle West looking to drive home the advantage. Sean Murphy is on it, gives it to McMahon, and they're just going to try and really hurt Kildimo Pallaskenry in terms of the scoreboard, but even also in terms of possession, as Lee Wolfe is on it. Wolfe gives it back to Murphy. Murphy, bit of a feint, gives it to Quilligan. He likes one off the left, I'm sure. Oh, dummy. And shape.
Really just need to add a couple of scores here, points, just to keep the scoreboard ticking now. They've got 2 early goals, and now's the time you get your chances, you put it over the bar, and just.
There's a shot from, well, there's appeals that it's gone wide. Indeed it has. I think it was Owen Hurley, was it, with the effort?
Owen Hurley, yeah.
And didn't catch it right, but again, given the rules, Billy, with the kickouts and everything, kicking a wide isn't maybe as fraught with, I suppose, as much danger as it was before, because this is a good chance this will be contested now, you see. So. Absolutely,
and this is the 7th kick out from Kildimo, and it's 3-all. Newcastle have won 3, and Kildimo now winning them was 4. So Newcastle have just up to their kick out, were 50-50, so But look, the other thing I'd say is Newcastle have 3 scores on the board, and they've had 4 wide. So they just need to keep that scoreboard ticking, because Kildimo are going to get a period of dominance. So it's you're dominating now. You just do need to put it on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Aaron Neville gets on it, gives it to Lee Wolfe. There's a bit of a waste of possession by Kieran Galvin, probably a bit over eager rather than slowing it up. But all it means is the men from the west have the ball, and 6 points at this early juncture, given their experience and given their quality, feel is a healthy position. Brian O'Sullivan, probably one of the more unlikely goal scorers you'd feel, but Ian Corbett saw him, and the second attempt he dispatched it to the back of the net as Brian Hurley is on it. Spilled by Seamus Hurley, but he's plenty of time to pick up the pieces. Sean Murphy in around the back. Murphy gathers and jinks. Is there a chance of a third goal here? Back to Murphy. Murphy is upended, and I think Jonathan Hayes has said the ball was fairly dislodged from the runner, and again right through the heart of that Newcastle, or that Kildimo Pallaskenry defence. There's joy for Newcastle West. Yeah,
the Kildimo are struggling poorly with the runners coming from deep from Newcastle, and Ian has gone through there. They're not necessarily going through with the ball. They're going through and they're not being tracked. They're not being watched, and they're getting the pass in, and then all of a sudden they're inside in front of Kevin Walsh in front of goal. So it's an area that Kildimo need to tighten up fairly fast, or Newcastle are going to score another 1 or 2 goals.
Yeah, it probably shows the importance of Tony McCarthy. Will be a real rock at the centre of that defence, but unavailable due to a hand injury sustained in training about a week or 10 days ago, as Newcastle West, through Thomas Quilligan, looking for another score. 3 scores to 1 doesn't tell the story, and then when you look at this, the 2 goals is a big huge gap on the scoreboard already, as it comes back to Seamus Hurley to Quilligan, one of a left foot as they say, and gives it out to Mike McMahon. McMahon has the runner. That's Owen Hurley around on the turn. In fact, it's Brian Hurley who Owen fed, and Brian, well, there's a disagreement there. The umpire in the near post waves it wide, and Jonathan Hayes confirmed. I think Jonathan Hayes was in a good position to call it as well himself. So
right. Certainly looked over from here, didn't it? Like, so, but they're nearer than we are, so
we'll trust them. We'll trust them out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now there's a much better kick out as the ball is found to James Ranahan. Just that punchy one in 20-25 metres. When it works, it looks very simple, but it isn't always easy to get those off. But thankfully for the men in blue and white, they've got one off easily. Peter Nash on it now. He's come back to try and stem the tide, as it were. He's blocked though through the middle, and a chance for, I think it was Ethan Brown, or turned over though, and Kildimo Pallaskenry.
Excellent work by Peter to win it back. And look, it's what Kildimo need. They need to get on the ball, just hold it for Newcastle
30 or 40 seconds even.
Yeah, just hold it. Not necessarily go for scores, just move around, avoid contacts, and just retain the ball.
Shawnee Hartigan coming around. Oh, very unlucky. Did very well to beat his man. It was a bit of jostling that he had to go around as well, but pops one off the post, and scoring opportunities at a premium up at this end so far, and you feel that those ones need to go off the post and over as they look for the turnover. Ian Corbett has over-carried.
That's great work by Kildimo. That's the kind of thing now that can just give them a bit of belief and confidence, and kind of break the Newcastle's momentum in possession. But they need to build on it. It can't be just moments of play like that. Newcastle dominating position and really just. And the thing with Newcastle is they haven't taken enough of the scores opportunities for all the possession they've had, and that can be fatal at times. Yeah,
I've them down for 6 wides already. So between a couple of there was one miscontrol over the end line, and there was obviously that one that was disputed a minute ago, but certainly not something they'll be too pleased about, despite the 2 goals they have bagged. But here's Kieran Barry to Downs, always willing to run off the shoulder. Takes a nice big heavy hit, doesn't even flinch as Sean Kavanagh gets on it. Hasn't seen too much of him so far. Gives it to Kieran Barry around the side to Ethan Brown, and Brown gives it to the man on the end line. There's a lot of traffic there for Jose to deal with, and wisely I think goes back to Ethan Brown.
Well, you can see what Kildimo are doing. They had a fella right over the corner on the left corner forward, and the right corner forward is Seamus Hartigan here now. So they're trying to stretch the Newcastle defence, but Newcastle defence are compressing one half of the field, and they're happy to let 2 lads on the opposite side where the ball is to be free, and they'll sweep across. So for that reason, Kildimo are struggling to kind of get inside. but Cahill now maybe.
Yeah, looking for a bit of magic from Downs here outside the arc, puts it high. I think it's going to spin back. It's going to be a very dangerous one. Mike McMahon is in there, goes for the punch, misses it. And Mike Culligan is there to tidy up the pieces. That was probably worth the effort from Cahill Downs, as I did mention the power and the accuracy he has in his boot. Mike McMahon overcarries the ball, and I think if we're being very strict there, he did drop the ball after him, but Jonathan Hayes is happy enough that he's left it where the foul was. So it'll be a chance with a 13-metre free for Nash. A tricky angle though for him.
What was noticeable when Cahill's shot went up there on the air? Did it hang in the air?
Yeah, it did.
There must be a bit of a breeze.
You can nearly feel it even where we are right now in this minute. Maybe blowing from right to left as viewers look. Yeah, so
and the flag over in Shannon Meads is kind of slightly coming this way as well. So even though it's a lovely, beautiful evening, there do seem to be somewhat. And the ball goes above.
You can see some of the flags here fluttering as we speak. As Nash from a very tricky angle, no bother at all to him. And in fairness, they've forced a couple of good turnovers, 2 for overcarrying, 1 on Ian Corbett we saw outside the 45, and 1 on Mike Mahon deep in his own defensive third. So something to be positive about, I'm sure, for Kildimo Pallaskenry as we head into the second quarter. Goes long and goes high. Possession is with Newcastle West temporarily though, as it spills its way out to Shane O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan is fouled, and a chance for him to solo and go away from Todd Donovan. He does so. Ball carried into traffic again and turned over. Here's Donovan, and
Seamus O'Sullivan nearly out half of both teams there with that challenge. You know, I see he's picking up one of his own men, but look, that shows the determination of him, the drive he's got, and an honest tackle, and was going to prepare to do anything.
There's going to be a free in. There's a 3-up breach. And it still hasn't been reset yet. There's still only 2 Kildimo Pallaskenry players. Very well communicated. I did see the officials mic'd up as they left the dressing room this evening. Still, Kildimo Pallaskenry need to send a player back up, lads. You might have sent one back up fairly promptly, but as you see there on your screens, just the 2 men inside. So the advantage was being played, and the advantage didn't come. So the net result is going to be a 20-metre free, which I'd say Thomas Killigan could nearly score with his eyes closed. So that'll show you.
We're fast to criticise officials, but it was not outstanding. There's no linesman, official linesman, and between the 4 umpires and Jonathan, they got that right.
Yeah, I think, in fairness, I think is it Liam McGrainer is the kind of acting as the almost like a 4th official over there. The adopted Drumcolour Broadford man, so he I think he might have communicated, but however they got there, got there.
Excellent. You know. Yeah, it's excellent. So credit to them,
And there's a sub on the Kildimo Pallaskenry team as Jack Milan, wearing 29, has been introduced, and number 5 Ethan Brown has made way. So an early roll of the dice from Declan Nash and co. Stephen Navin is of course in his backroom team as well. So between them they've decided it's time to change something, as Peter Nash is fouled and immediately injects the tempo into it, gives it off to Eddie McLaughlin, and McLaughlin maintains possession, gives it to Kieran McMahon. Nash, look at his step, gives it inside. There's a chance of a goal here. Kieran Galvin off balance a little bit and probably turning onto his left when he wanted to use his right, and just skews it up and wide. But
excellent move again. Peter just jumped inside and then head up and moved the ball, and quick hands as well from the man he passed it to young Galvin, and an opportunity certainly,
Yeah, I just had a replay there on our monitors here, and there was 4 Newcastle West men in around the parallelogram, as I say, so they've flooded back in numbers, and that's probably why Galvin just didn't have the time to do what he wanted with it, and he's on it again. Gives it off as Galvin and Corbett are jostling for possession, or jostling off the ball I should say. Referee quickly extinguishes that fire as Shane O'Sullivan gives it inside to Davy Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's out to Downs and starting to get a small bit of a foothold. They want to start tacking over a couple of scores now to really get some more belief into it, as Davy Fitz surges through the middle, eventually spills it and has to give it back to Nash, and again there's black and white jerseys everywhere, and now it's been turned over as Ian Corbett, it was Lee Wolfe who gets it and he carries it up. There was a temper for a moment there, was an accidental, I think, cross over the halfway line. There was only 2 Newcastle wins for a split second, but very, very difficult to spot that as play goes on. Owen Hurley, as I can see, Jonathan Hayes has now been communicated by Liam McGrainer. Again, the officials, it was minimal, so it will be a free on the halfway line. It's not the full-on breach, if you like. It's an accidentally. He was going to get to possession and he crossed the halfway line to do so. Not sure which Newcastle West player it was. I think it might have been one of the Hurleys, but it means it's a turnover of possession. So again, the officials working very well here this evening.
Excellent stuff. Well,
yeah, and it was only for, I'd say, a split second. I happened to have spotted because of where we are as well on the halfway line ourselves, but great to see that joint up thinking between the officials. And Kildimo Pallaskenry will be kicking themselves because they've coughed it up immediately. They went backwards from the free basically, and they've lost it. So
that's their second free tonight, going backwards, and I don't think I've seen that since the new rules have come in. And I've seen it twice here tonight.
Old habits die hard.
Yeah, it's possibly so, but that's unfortunate. They turned it over deep in their own half there, so that's not good. But and one thing Kildimo are doing when they attack, when they go wide.
Owen Hurley has a go for a 2-pointer. Hurley's effort, I think it's there. It was right at the top of the arc, exactly where you want to be. The two hands are aloft, and the orange flag is now waved, and a breach here. They turn over ball far too easily for Kildimo Pallaskenry, and they're punished by a 2-pointer. So it's a real kick in the backside, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Newcastle's experience, and they're moving it. They see opportunities and they're tending to take it. And even though they have missed, you could say, quite a number of opportunities as well, but I don't know, Kildimo seems to be losing them in places, and they're not putting pressure on where they need to, and when they're attacking, then other than Cahill Downs breaking the centre, they're not able to break the centre of Newcastle's defence, so their only option is to go wide. And when they've created chances. They haven't always taken one or two of them, but they have created those chances. So there's a lesson there. They have to go around the flanks, and they probably haven't enough power to go around the centre against like Seamus Hurley. Ian is sitting there, Mike Mack is out there. They're big men, like strong physical men. So, but when they have gone wide, and you can see here Seamus Hartigan's down the right and left corner forwards right up the touchline the other side, that is their way. They're going to have to go around because they don't have the power to go around the centre. Yeah, and
it was remarked to me that their team overall is a very young team. You look at the experience that Nash has. Cahill Downs has plenty of experience, but he's not an old man by any means. He's in relative terms is only recently on the scene. They are a very young team. You can probably see that in the physical development of them as well, that these guys will, I'm sure, grow in the S&C point of view. But I think that kind of illustrates your point.
But even at that, their experience, they're young, they haven't got the experience of playing senior football. I mean, most of these fellas have 5 county medals and probably played in a lot of finals, even losing one or two, so they have a huge amount of experience. And well-oiled machine basically. And look, there's a lot, obviously Dan the Harties and playing either Brian Nix, Emmett Richter, there's the likes of Keane Sheehan and one or two others like that all over the country as well, and they're still young enough. So look, Kildimo have done great work over the last number of years, and they're not dead by any means, but look, it'd be great to see them keep them going and developing down there as a club,
Yeah, as Cahill Downs is foul. Now, where was it? It's outside the arc, so Peter Nash is going to trot over and have a go at this. This would be the ideal response to that Owen Hurley 2-pointer.
He is the only one that's able to, Cahill is the only one that can break the tackle. Peter's depending on his sidestep, his jinking, he does go by it, but Cahill then has got the power to go by. But other than them two, Kildimo are not able to get by the Newcastle West defence, so they're going to have to go around them and quick movement to the ball to create those opportunities.
So Nash puts it on the turf. I tell you, before that arc was there, I wouldn't have told you this was 40 metres away. I tell you my is it geometry or whatever it is. But it's interesting to see what is now 40 metres from goal. But
that would be considered 30 yards, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'd be kind of telling a fella that's an easy enough kick, but Mr. Nash makes it look easy anyway here this evening.
Great strike, great free.
Minimal kind of run into the ball. There's all sorts of different techniques for frees like that off the ground, and Peter has his one refined, and minimal backlift really as well, just stroked it over. Beautiful effortless stuff, and gets the 2-point free back. So
Kildimo trying to press Newcastle's kick out.
Drill one low and get away a bit too easy.
They had 4 on the full forward line there. They had about 7 or 8 around the middle of the field in between the half back and full forward line. So you should be putting a bit more pressure on that. Newcastle shouldn't have got that off there. If you're a press, you'd be disappointed with that. I'm sure there will be.
So Newcastle West trying to reassert a little bit of dominance. It's been even enough really in the last few minutes, as you'd have noticed, folks, in terms of territory and all that, but before that it was a lot of one-way traffic down here as the ball carried through by Lee Wolfe. Quilligan on the loop, and now in fact it's Owen Hurley. Always a good block in there, finds his way back to Thomas Quilligan, gives it to Corbett. He could kick one in there, and indeed he does. Just about stayed up off the turf, and again they have to reset. And this is the advantage of having the lead as well. You just don't need to force the issue. 6 points up in, I suppose, a relatively low scoring contest so far in terms of points anyway. They really just have to wait for someone to fall asleep in the Kildimo Pallaskenry defence as Aaron Neville gets on it. Neville goes around the back. There's a bit of a screen there in front of him, sends it inside. It's Corbett looking for another one. Buries it. Absolutely buries it. And they were patient in the build-up. And he comes surging through. And
yeah, it's back to what we said earlier, like 2 men went to Aaron Neville and Ian slipped in at the back of him and they didn't track him, and bang, a repeat of the first goal, you know, and a magnificent finish again. Nearly identical to the first one, where he put it in, the power he put it in, and look, watch him here, look, he goes in, slips inside, no one follows him, and it's an easy pass. 3 fellas go to him, and that's been their problem, like we said it earlier, that they get caught again, and they're likely to get caught again in the second half, if not in the first half. It's a problem for them, you know.
So 3 goals already for Newcastle West, really finding the space, and there was great patience in the build-up, and then when they needed to put the pace in, Neville and obviously Corbett combined, and they're looking for another one, you feel here. There's much more numbers back. There's a chance of a point is there for Owen Hurley. In fact, he decides to come back, sends it across to Corbett. Or in fact, sorry, that was
so look, Lee Wolf is free there.
Lee Wolf,
yeah, they're getting attracted to the ball, too many of them, and they're letting Newcastle fellas free. They've been fortunate there again. If whoever that position had slipped it to Lee, he was in, you know. So as Brian Foley didn't give to Lee, so it's an area Kildimo needs tied up, and there's going to be more goals here for Newcastle. Yeah,
and you saw Peter Nash is back inside in more or less the full back line now. He knows that they're taking on an awful lot of water, and they just need to stem it some bit here, but easier said than done as Thomas Quilligan gets on it. Sends it in left-footed to Owen Hurley down to that corner. He's tightly marked by Eddie McLaughlin. We did have a second sub for Kildimo Pallaskenry. We'll come to that in a moment, but Thomas Quilligan just sends it inside. The defending is a little bit tighter, and ball is collected now by James Ranahan. He does well. Back placing goals himself. There's a heavy challenge there on the sub, Paddy Hartigan. He came in there, I think, just after the third goal. Who he replaced? The number 15, Sean Kavanagh, is, I'm told, who he's replaced as well. So that was just after the Corbett goal. So obviously, in fairness to the management, they're not sitting twiddling their thumbs. They've realised it's not working. They have to try and change something here, and they've rolled the dice a second time.
Yeah, well, like, if you look at it, it's 3-4 to 4, and the goals have come because Kildimo have failed to pick up runners going deep. They're getting attracted to the ball, and Newcastle runners are going in behind them. Otherwise, they're defending Newcastle well. When Newcastle are playing in front of them, they're getting blocks in, and there's bodies there, and they're set up well. But it's just that runner going in deep that they've missed 3 times and 3 goals, and that's what's separating the teams at the moment.
Ruthlessly punished. Peter Nash breaks the tackle now. Nash coming around in the loop, takes his solo. He's if any option off his shoulder, he's to go all the way back to Carl Downs. Again, there's so many black jerseys there. I think a couple of Kildimo Pallaskenry men probably didn't expect Nash to need the pass, but they weren't there if he could give it.
But again, you can see in their attack, they're very look. There's 4 inside in the full forward line, but they're spread wide. There's 3 in the far corner to the opposite side of the ball. They're truly trying to open up the channels so they can get runners in, because they know they can't go toe to toe with Newcastle, and anytime they have, they've lost it, and that's their opportunity to try and get themselves back into the game if they can keep doing that and get runners going in.
There's the half-time whistle. Kildimo Pallaskenry not too happy, but if the time is up, the time is up. And we're gone, 31 and a half minutes, I think, into the first half, isn't it? So, Jonathan Hayes says the time is up. We are at half time. Billy, sum it up for me. I think the goals are obviously the difference, but I suppose it's Kildimo Pallaskenry's inability, I suppose, to track runners and to really stop that dynamic Newcastle West play, because as you just said a minute ago, they're not doing too bad a little bit further out, but once there's been a bit of pace injected, they've struggled.
Yeah, and look, Newcastle have had 4 points, and we've had about 6 other shots at 4 points and not taking them. So from that aspect of it, you'd say that Kildimo would be happy with the way they're setting up. The problem has been the runners got in. Ian got of all fellas, you just don't leave unattended as Ian Corbett. He's been a monster football for Limerick and Newcastle.
And he's an incredible kicker, shooter of the ball.
And he slipped through twice, and 2 goals, and then Brian Sullivan came from the cornerback position has slipped in, and that's where they're falling down. Other than that, okay, Newcastle dominant possession, I'd say, and Kildimo on the other hand, when they're attacking, they don't have the strength, size, power to break us down the centre, but they're going down the wings and they're trying to set up well, and they're well organised. You can see that. It's just they have to transfer the ball fast, little play, and keep the ball moving, and stretch Newcastle and hope to get a runner. You know, Cahaldown's going to have to come into that. They're probably going to have to bring Peter out a bit further to allow him run onto the ball, because he's jink, and they're going to have to gamble that maybe. You know, I know they'd like to keep him up front, of course they would. But at this stage, the way they're going to try and break down Newcastle, they're going to have to have runners coming from deep, late, and Cahill and Peter are probably two best players. Maybe young Fitzgerald in the middle of the field is another opportunity for that, and that's their only hope of trying to get back into this game. They're going to need goals, and that's the problem.
Yeah, they're going to need to close the back door as well. But folks, we'll take a short commercial break here at half time in Rathkeale. So as you can see, half time it is Kildimo Pallaskenry 4 points, Newcastle West 3-4.
DB Printers, general printing for headed paper, business cards and complimentary slips. All types of memoriam and acknowledgement cards, posters, tickets, flyers, lottos, NCR docket books, etc. DB Printers, Newcastle West. Best of luck to Newcastle West footballers this evening. O'Sullivan Centre Clarina, your one-stop shop. From Roosters Piri Piri to Caramico Pizza, Centre Clarina satisfies every craving. Pamper your pouch at our wash and wag station or grab a coffee at the Creamery Cafe and relax in our seating area. Experience it all at Centre Clarina.
Mike McMahon spots though that there's a runner out there. The advantage is
Great
being
pass.
played, and it's sent goalward. The umpires agree. It's still with the blue shirts of Kildimo Pallaskenry. They're working around the back. Is there a chance here? It's going to be his backroom team to lead this one forward as they turned it over. The fight for possession inside, hacked away by Eddie McLaughlin, but only to give it back to Sean Murphy. Murphy through the middle is going to get a 1-2 here, is he? It's Ian Corbett. Corbett buries it to the top corner. Play will go on. Foley comes inside. It was protested it was out. Ian Corbett hand passes it in around the back. There's a chance of a second goal in quick succession.
Oh,
It's kicked to the net.
they've been caught twice.
Well, a long way from goal.
Somewhat. And the ball goes above.
You can see some of the flags here fluttering as we speak, as Nash from a very trick. That'll show you.
We're fast to criticise officials, but it was not like, you know, so that's not good. But, you know, and one thing Kildimo do when they attack, when they go wide,
Owen Hurley has a go for 2. See what is now 40 metres from goal, but
that
he's
would be
about
considered 30 yards, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'd be kind of telling a fella that's an easy enough kick, but really just have to wait for someone to fall asleep in the Kildimo Pallaskenry defence as Aaron Neville gets on it. Neville goes around the back. There's a bit of a screen there in front of him, sends it inside. It's Corbett looking for another one. Buries it. Absolutely buries it. And they were patient in the build-up. And You're very welcome back to Sean Finn Park, also known as the Bog Garden in Rathkeale, for this evening's Irish Wire Products Limerick Senior Football Championship. It's the goals that are the difference so far. Newcastle West 3-4, Kildimo Pallaskenry 4 points. Just to bring you up to speed, in the other group, this clash you're watching here is a Group 2, Round 2 clash, but also in Group 1 we have the Round 2 clash between Adair and Rathkeale, and it is Adair, the county champions, leading a goal and 8 to 9 points, rattling off, I'm told, the last 3 points of the opening half to put themselves ahead at the interval. We're almost ready to go here. Billy, hard to see a bit back for Kildimo Pallaskenry, but I'm sure they'll have reset a few things at half time.
Yeah, you know, they're going to have to go the first 10 minutes, and it's about Newcastle now. Just keep the scoreboard ticking with points, and that's going to put pressure on Kildimo then to start having to go for goals to try and get themselves back into it and leave themselves more open. So, first 10 minutes are big for both teams.
Yeah, first possession is with Newcastle West as Owen Hurley gets on it. Hurley gives it inside, gets it back off the left, a little bit off balance, and I know he favours his right and didn't catch that well.
But if you notice there, Todd Donovan had slipped in behind the defence again, and they got it into him, and he gave it back to Owen there for the shot. But the signs are ominous already. This is the first minute of the second half that they're not tracking the runners that are going in behind their defence.
Yeah, those injuries to Kyle Hayes and Tony McCarthy certainly hindering their chances at those out there still trying for the jersey, and I'm sure we'll try and get inch closer in this one. So nothing conceded yet as Jack Milan gets on it. Milan sends it inside to Jose, who's, I think he's limping there. He just got caught ever so slightly. He has advantage. There's going to be a free here. I think just slightly down his Achilles. Maybe Todd Donovan accidentally or otherwise has just caught him. So we're bringing it forward for the free.
Yeah, seeing that, and just two lads competing for the ball, and Evan Sheen just caught the young lad in the back. So
I tell you, there's watermen and there's watermen. Like Tony McCarthy is an awful waste. So watermen, they'll do anything to have him out there. But
yeah, absolutely. And no doubt Tony'd love to be out there as well, you know.
A tremendous season with Limerick, didn't he? And injuries hampered that too. But nevertheless, every time he came back, he was in fine form. Wonderful attitude. I mean, I tell you, managing teams would be very easy if they were all like Tony McCarthy. Yeah, I had the pleasure of playing a bit of schools football with him, with no great success for either of us. But anyway, as Carl Downs is turned over, and Sean Murphy gives it to Donovan on the run. Kildimo Pallaskenry encouraged by one of their mentors to drop here as Lee Wolfe gets on. He's been very much involved in a lot of plays. Thomas Culligan sends it inside to Owen Hurley. Hurley sensibly gives it back out to Corbett. Corbett has Donovan there, just overcooks the hand pass a little bit, and Carl Downs is clipped on his way towards it. And Peter Nash, a long way from where they want him, but needs must on an evening like this. What has been a sticky assignment so far as Kieran McMahon gets on it. McMahon, with his head up, looks for the other Kieran. That's Kieran Galvin, and Galvin, who got a point in that opening half, comes back again out to McMahon, who's going to join in. Nash is out here outside the arc. Wonder will he fancy a shot? Probably 3 or 4 metres short of where he wanted to be. Gives it to Davy Fitz. Gives it to Milan. And Milan gives it back now inside to McMahon. And there's the spread of play that they had in the first half. It's a hand pass inside. Mike McMahon is there. Spills out, and it's sliced by the number 24. That's Paddy Hartigan. And disappointing end to the move, but again, it's probably a little too ponderous in the build-up, and it allowed Newcastle West to get set, didn't it? Yeah,
it was a bit slow. I think the first pass there by young Keane McMahon to Sean Kavanagh, or maybe it was Jack Milan to Keane McMahon. It went to ground, you know, and that just gives the opposition time to set up. When you're making passes on an attack, they have to go into hand to load and in the run, so that a man can keep his momentum going. That makes it harder for defenders to get back and set up and defend, you know. But they just got to keep the ball moving with little as play as possible, because the more they're playing with the ball, the more they're going to give Newcastle an opportunity to turn them over, you know. So and that's what they got to do, you know.
Yeah, Peter Nash judged to have fouled the ball on the ground, so Mike McMahon is on with the free. He'll end up in the goal soon, will he? Mike McMahon, I know he's wearing 14, but he's in the full back line in the centre back position a lot this evening, but I wouldn't put it past him, would you?
No, he's in great shape, you know, for yes. Physically fit, and he's able to get up and down. He's playing midfield, and you know, that's not easy in the modern game, you know.
He's like, I mean, he's 20 years basically playing both courts for the club, isn't he, at that level, like, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
And he was playing a bit of rugby in between as well, so it's a testament to him, his dedication, as you said.
Yeah, look, you know, he bulked up there for the years when he's playing the rugby. Now he's trimmed down again, and as we all know, that's not easy too. Like, you know, it's sort of one thing bulking up and coming back down is not easy.
It's easy, put it on, by I tell you.
So, you know, that takes commitment and effort and a lot of commitment, you know, and he does that.
Yeah, Peter Nash meets Wolf. Is it Lee Wolf off the right, and a little bit off balance again, and again it's off target.
Yeah, Lee Wolf is involved in a lot of attacks. Perhaps shooting isn't his strong point, you know, maybe.
But he's very, very busy in possessions. Maybe in that kind of 65 to maybe just outside the arc, he's involved in a lot of play.
Yeah, he is, and he's coming in, and that's what he likes to do. He likes to get involved and get at the opposition, you know. But you know, I just think maybe try and find a finisher take the pressure off to undo all the good work, you know, to that point.
Yeah, a reminder, these sides will be in round 3 action in the first weekend of September. Kildimo Pallaskenry facing Mungret St. Paul's, and Newcastle West will meet St. Kieran's. So both of those sides playing near enough neighbours, as Kildimo Pallaskenry looking to resurrect something here. Kieran McMahon goes inside the 40, almost inside the 20. Indeed they are now, as it's Kieran Barry. Until you get confused with the Kierans, if 3 of them on the team at the moment. Is again, it's lost, but thankfully the pacey.
Yeah, it's turned
over again, and Newcastle West will look to surge out with this one. Michael Cremin on it into Quilligan, and here's Corbett, heads up as always when he gets the ball in his possession, and he now just decides to find the easy play, which is Brian Hurley. And Brian Hurley looking for options, doesn't have one, but yet to have the first score of the second half. We were, I think, 7 minutes in the first half, so Newcastle West, I'm sure, very, very happy with their position. Yet to roll the dice in terms of subs, so we'll see what who they have. Also, they have their second team, of course, playing intermediate, so that's a factor to consider as well. In action over the weekend, as ball finds its way to Brian Hurley. Newcastle West with so much time for Hurley to attack. Mike McMahon wanted it off the loop, and Hurley decides to just turn onto his left and sends it over. Nice score.
Super score off the left boot, nice and calm, and was very assured on the finish, you know. So again, Lee Wolf brought it out, drove at the Kildimo defence, and got the momentum going forward there before they switched it from the far side to this side to get Brian on it.
Kevin Walsh with the kick out, previously been replayed with Ballysteen. His kick out is lost, and immediately the free given, and immediately knocked inside to Brian Foley. Foley to Corbett on the run. Corbett will want this back, I'm sure. Goes out the back door. Corbett's there to tap it in, and there's the hat-trick. Ian Corbett, surging run. We've seen it before this evening, and he gets the hat-trick, the easiest finish to the lap, but no less a brilliant team move.
Yeah, and look, they won it got a good catch to get a free, but fed Brian Foley, and they got 3 runners coming at the defence, Lee Wolf, Ian Corbett, and look, that was going to be very difficult. They know Hurley joined in it then as well, and picked out Ian quite simply, and they are tipped in. Hard to defend that when you've got lads coming running hard at you, Lee and Ian, and they've probably been the dominant players in Newcastle's performance tonight, in terms of driving at the Kildimo defence, you know. Here goes Lee Wolf again. Yeah,
Wolf is on it now. Gives it to Hurley. Brian Hurley at this time. Saw that left footed point a minute ago, but you'd worry now for Kildimo Pallaskenry. They're just... It's about damage limitation, I feel now, and I hate to use terms like that so early in this contest, but the writing is certainly on the wall here, isn't it?
Yeah, look, you'd say it'd be very hard for them to get themselves back into the game and get competitive. This game looks like it's Newcastle's now to do whatever they want. You know, they'll probably not empty the bench if there's got a match tomorrow as well. But the one thing I would expect is I don't see Kildimo throwing the tile or
absolutely not. No.
They're built a lot more strong and stuff like that. They might be beaten in terms of ability, but by God, they've great character and great, and you'll see it here for the next 25 minutes, you know. But unfortunately, the game has probably slipped from them.
Shane O'Sullivan gets on it. O'Sullivan going to come back around the loop, yeah. So looks like their senior start to hurling and football for Kildimo Pallaskenry will suffer its first defeat, a win and a draw in the hurling, and a win earlier in the football as well. So not too bad. Newcastle West, 2 draws in hurling, and certainly on course for a second win in the football. I'd say any man supporting both codes out there would have taken that at the start of the campaigns, as Eddie McLaughlin gets on it. McLaughlin sends it out to Shane O'Sullivan. As you probably notice, and we always say it, shirt numbers meaning very, very little, as Paddy Hartigan gets on it, gives it back to Eddie McLaughlin outside the 2-point zone. McLaughlin's effort almost had the legs but didn't, and definitely didn't have the accuracy, so there's going to be another sub for Kildimo Pallaskenry. I think Newcastle West are preparing one as well, which may come in a minute. So it's the number 30 for Kildimo Pallaskenry, that's Gary Sheehan, and it's the number 13 he replaces, Kieran Galvin. So Galvin, difficult assignment up top there. Service probably not in as much plentifulness as it was against Ballylander, so there's a sub for Newcastle West. So 17, Ruan O'Connor is on. I think it's Aaron Neville, I believe it is. Maybe there's another sub in the form of Mike O'Keefe, and just see who Mike O'Keefe has replaced if I can spot it. The number 10 is gone off. That's Todd Donovan.
Todd Donovan. So you're bringing in a Limerick Senior football panellist and one of the most experienced players on the Newcastle West team in Mike O'Keefe. So it's fair to say that Newcastle are not weak in with them two subs, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. And I was even surprised when I got here this evening to see Mike O'Keefe listed as a substitute. He's been just almost never present in that full back line in the last few years.
You know, an unassuming person, an unassuming player. You know, he just gets on with the game. You know, very passionate about the football.
And you know exactly what you're getting from him, don't you?
100%. You're great pace, great man marker. You know. Unsung really with the teams that the 3-in-a-row team and the other county championships at Newcastle. He just goes about his business very diligently and is happy to sit in the background, and but look, he's well respected in Newcastle West as a key member of that group. Yeah,
he's in now to stake a claim, as Gary Sheehan has it. Sheehan's effort is not the best one, probably encouraged to use it a bit better than that, but Mike Quilligan coming out with the kick out. I tell you, the temperature has dropped, but very observing weather all day today. I was playing last night myself and Junior eating goals, and I was coming up with a fair sweat in my brow, and I didn't make too much impact up the field, but very, very demanding conditions. As there's a late shoulder by Ian Corbett and Kieran McMahon. Advantage coming, so the advantage now accrued, and back they come, looking for runners, and they come all the way back here. Newcastle West now will get set up.
Yeah, but you can see what Kildimo are at. Look, they're positioning players on both sides, because unfortunately they haven't got enough lads to kind of break the line and break the Newcastle West defence when they run at them. So they've got to try and play it in around them, and that's not happening for them, you know.
Another wide, this time Cahill Downs, speculative enough effort for a 2-pointer, about 47 or 8 metres out, but didn't catch it at all right, and the net result is a wide. But scoring difference when in the shake-up for third place, or indeed to avoid relegation playoffs. I think we have relegation playoffs in this year between the teams in 5th and 6th, so Kildimo Pallaskenry, while it probably isn't on their mind, could be a factor as well, so tacking on a couple of scores,
yeah, absolutely,
could be no harm.
Yeah, I look, the game probably needs a bit of something from Kildimo at this stage. Other than this, there's 17 minutes left. It's going to just petter out. It's lost all kind of sense of competitiveness now at this point, you know. So we could do with a couple of scores to make the game competitive.
Nash sends it to one of the runners. It's Milan. It's sent inside to the number 24. That's Paddy Hartigan, and his effort is a little bit rushed. Probably didn't realise that he'd actually lost his man. Certainly had a couple of yards to himself, but snaps the shot to the right and wide. They're probably just observing, just taking out the energy out of their challenge now. A couple of points could sometimes re-energise a team.
Absolutely.
The misses, as we always know, do the opposite.
The very simple thing, like just trying to keep simple scores or hold it, like, you know, I'd say Newcastle will try and save energy and just take it relatively easy to see it out. You know, it's a warm night, and a lot of these lads are playing both codes, so you know you're 13 points up at this point. You don't exactly need to be hammering the hammer at this stage, you know.
Yeah.
And that's
Brian Hurley to Owen Hurley, and Owen looks to get it on the loop, but not his best effort, and it goes to the right and wide. But yeah, it's a point well made about lads trying to manage their loads and manage their bodies, because it has been a grueling few weeks and it's only going to get tougher. There is no break in this championship between if you're playing both codes, I tell you. As there's a sub on for Newcastle West.
It's Niall McAuliffe.
The number 19 is Niall McAuliffe, so he replaces Brian Foley.
Yeah.
So a quarter of the contest for McAuliffe to show what he's about, and immediately a kick out finds him. Handy when that happens, isn't it? And
very handy. Get yourself into the game pretty fast, you know, when it lands on top of you.
Yeah,
you know?
look at it. He's put a bit of surge there off the ball. He was looking for the return hand pass. Thomas Quilligan gets on it. Gives to Owen Hurley, and all the way around the back. There's a chance for Lee Wolfe. Again, they work it into a much more advantageous position. There's a high challenge in there on Aaron Neville, and straight away they're off to the races. They're looking for another goal. It's going to come back to Corbett. Corbett decides to pass it. Is it sent goalward? It's snapped up. But
there's Mr. Wolfe again, you know. The right place at the right time. And
what time is it, Mr. Wolfe? Well,
yeah.
It's time to give me the ball, I'd say, is what he's saying. He's certainly brought energy to this game this evening.
In a big way. In a big way,
yeah.
I suppose it's just to work on in terms of finishing. He's very prominent.
I get the sense he's on your long list for the man of the match here in the Bog Garden, but we'll come to that in due course.
Doesn't help, he's my nephew.
I didn't realise the connection, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you wanted a few jobs done around home or something like that, you know, a bit of painting or something, maybe there's a trade-off to be had there, but anyway.
I'll be waiting.
You'll be waiting, right. Play goes on. Mike O'Keefe is on it. Can't go back to the goalkeeper as he would have in previous years, and another one of those rule enhancements. I tell you, as I said, I played in goals last night. It's not a rule enhancement when your own teammates can't pass you the ball. So
but I think the game is better for it.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, for sure.
It is fair to say, I think, you know, the last move Newcastle put together they're moving the ball slick enough without him. They're not carrying into contact as such. They're coming off the shoulder at different lines of angles, and they're watching their sea runners and picking up passes.
There's Mike Mack coming off at a different angle. Peter Nash is there for company.
Peter enjoyed that one. It's a bit like Schwarzenegger and DeVita, wasn't it?
Yeah, little and large, but Nash wins it.
Yeah, can't bet the small man.
And I always remark about Peter Nash, and he's not alone in it, but a man who's come from junior B all the way to senior in the football code for his club. I know Tony McCarthy is another one that was there nearly every step of the way for them, as frustration beginning to grow from Kildimo Pallaskenry. The ball has been passed out over the line.
Peter's a warrior. You know, he lives for it, and he leaves it all out there anytime he plays a game, and he's very passionate about it. And you know, if you want to take a moment to sum up that, you know, it was a high ball into Mike Mack, and Peter wasn't letting him get it that easily, and managed to break it from him, or force Mike to break it and pick up the break himself, you know. And if you just want to understand what Peter Nash is about, it probably that little cameo just kind of explains it.
That's for sure, yeah. As the ball comes out to Seamus Hurley. Hurley does well. Skips inside. Corbett spills it up. There's just a collision there. The men in blue and white not happy with it. Corbett spilled the ball, but was upended then immediately afterwards, and Peter Nash in to stake his claim.
It wasn't the most hard-earned free that he'll ever win, you know.
That's for sure, as Thomas Quilligan will line it up. But I suppose your point there about that some of those moves, it was noticeable with Limerick this year, and I think it's noticeable here with Newcastle West at times this evening, is players are now they're encouraged to, yes, take on your man, but you know, don't be soloing that ball when you're near a challenge, because you're going to be dislodged, or it's going to be, you know, if you can do it at all, as Quilligan with the quick 1-2, but doesn't get the shot off properly.
Well, if you want to compare it, like, you know, one of the last plays there as Lee Wolfe took it up the wing, and Brian Hurley came off the side and at a different angle, going kind of in towards the middle of the field. And any time Kildimo have attacked, and they've had opportunities to do that, they haven't come in to come off the shoulder, get in deep, carry the ball into where it hurts. And that's probably because, you know, they're light, they're a young team, and they're probably building, and they don't have the power to be able to do that. Whereas, you know, the Hurleys are quite strong, and Lee and Ian and a couple more of them like that, you know. So the bit of development that Kildimo are going to go through over the next couple of years will stand them in good stead, and they have a big future. I think Don Hartley's coming here now as well.
Yeah, is
another senior footballer.
Sorry, who'd you say? Darren O'Doherty. Yeah. I just roll him off.
So Mike Mack has gone off. So, look, we're not weakening the team in any shape, signs, or form.
No, that's for sure. Plenty of strength. There's another free coming here. We're coming back there, and I think for the first time this evening we're going to have a yellow card out. Jonathan Hayes was managing the game well to that point. There's a yellow card for Shawnee Hartigan. So as Billy mentioned there, Mike McMahon makes way and Darren O'Doherty into the fray.
Yeah, Mike was quite effective out there again tonight, without he managed himself, he's experienced, he stayed around the middle of the field, link play, and just kept it simple. And obviously, knowing there's a big couple of weeks, taking him off was a wise move, because it's not getting easier as you get older for Mike, but managing his load is important, because he's an important member to both hurling and football in Newcastle, and so his experience alone, his strength, his size, and so that's smart management, I would say.
Yeah, the free is knocked over. Owen Hurley. The 12 shirt, the 15 shirt knocks it over. Just bring you up to speed on the Kildimo Pallaskenry short sub in a moment. So they tack on another score. It was Cian Arthur coming in wearing the number 18 jersey, replacing Kieran McMahon. So Arthur will try and get involved and keep their energy up down the stretch. But the kick out again has found the opposition. As Ian Corbett goes into traffic and has to come back out to O'Doherty. Was part of that Limerick full back line so often this season. Unusual to see him wearing the number 16 jersey as they come back around through Ruan O'Connor and now O'Doherty and back to Quilligan. Mere spectators, the 3 up and the 4 back at this point, as a lot of the game now being played at this end of the pitch as Sean Murphy gets on it, very strong carrier of the ball, and he looks for a runner, and there it is in the form of Aaron Neville, but his effort, that's a blot in the copybook for him.
Yeah, but that was all too easy, Sean went through him and he just turned back. He had 2 options coming off his shoulder, coming at him, and Kildimo should be getting a hold of the lads at that stage, before Sean's run. They should be hands on, know what they're blocking their run, doing what it takes to stop the run, and the boys are just making runs all too easily, so there's a bit to go for Kildimo, I think, at this level, certainly against the teams like Newcastle, and they're equals,
Yeah, Sean Barry wearing number 20 has replaced Davy Fitzgerald in midfield, and immediately is a target for that kick out, the number 20, but doesn't get it, and Kildimo really haven't had much possession in the last few minutes, and it's pretty demoralising for them at this point, as Newcastle West, they haven't really rammed home their advantage though.
Well, that's the thing, is it, like 6 points, other teams won't give away the goals that Kildimo give, so
well, like when we get into the deeper end of this championship, yes, 4 goals will help you win games, but I mean, you said 6 points there, you're going to be wanting to get 12-13 white flags, as there's a free coming, it's whistled off there, but 2 pointers or 1 pointers, you're going to want to be bringing that 6 up to 16, really, aren't you?
You would. Now look, there's no two ways about it, the fact that they know they're up now, 13-14 points.
Yeah, it's not a ding-dong battle.
So that's playing into it as well, to be fair to them. But they are dominant in play, they are creating opportunities, they're just not taking them. So, but look, that's a perfect position for management to be in, Okay, we game 1 early, and you can go back at them saying, lads, we're not, whatever you have to say to them to get them to focus in terms of finishing and improving it. They've had a couple of 1 or 2 wild shots, so that's positive. The amount of position they're winning, it's just they're just completely dominant. But look, the game has got we got into the last 7 or 8 minutes. We've made subs and it hasn't weakened the team. Kildimo making subs, and it's probably, I won't say it's not weakening the team, but it's not as strong as our subs. And
it's experience versus probably inexperience in a lot of cases, at this level.
There's a turnover going to come in here.
Yeah, the referee had the arm up for advantage, but no, nothing doing. We'll play on as Aaron Neville on it again, pins it inside and gets it back again. Actually, does Neville, gives it to Brian Hurley. Hurley again, a little bit off balance and shake it ahead from the attacker, just wasteful, and
you've got to finish them. There's, what's the matter about it? They've just got to go off the bar, But all Newcastle's approach play is nearly unchallenging somewhere, but even outside of that, they're doing it really well. They're moving the ball, they're carrying it when they get the opportunity to carry it, they're moving the ball before they get challenged, so they're not losing it in contact. So they're doing an awful lot right. It's just, I think it's an area that they'll have to work on, but I'm sure, look, the lads over them will know that, and sure, it's an ideal situation to be in, you know.
Yeah, John Brosnan, Martin O'Sullivan, Brian Fitzgerald kind of heading up the management here this evening, with Liam Weir absent, and I think Liam is over in France, so I'm sure when the result gets through, if indeed he's watching, he'll be very, very happy to see it, as another effort, and another long-range effort from Kildimo Pallaskenry. You just feel, just take that into closer to goal and just see, can we get a routine enough single pointer? They're looking for another 2-pointer there, but
that's the lessons that, look, they're a young team, as you said earlier on, and that's the things that, you know, Declan and Stephen and the management team will get after and just help him, you know, understand it. Like, but you know, back to Newcastle, John Brosnan's over team here. His family is steeped in football in Kerry. His father was chairman of the East Board there for years and years and years. You know, his brother Liam was involved in Newcastle years ago, and you'd hear Liam on Kerry radio there with Weishi and Timmy. So they'll know their football and they'll know what's required here. So Liam needing what he's over in France. Johnny will have the story for him. Chapter and verse, and they'll know what they need to work on.
Is Kildimo Pallaskenry searching for a score in the second half? Out the back to Jose Asperati, just spilling it. Oh, just took his eye off it as well, and it's easily turned over. And
you see 18, it's a young boy, young Asperati.
Yeah, 18 or 19, I think.
That's all, because we've his brother in with him in the under 16s of the football panel, Miguel, and I know he played minor football hurling last year.
Hurling, yeah.
So he can be under 18, like, so it kind of gives you a sense of what we're talking about. You know, someone like Ian Corbett, about 33, and Aston Nominee, you know, a legend of a footballer, like, you know. So that kind of gives you a sense of what Kildimo are up here tonight. But
that's for sure.
Tony,
but this won't be season defining, because
not
I mean,
not at all.
If you look at who else they have to play, like, I mean, they'll certainly feel that they can get a result against Galty Gales. They'll fancy it a little bit against Mungo St. Paul's as our Neville, but kind of underwhelming efforts, and St. Kieran's, so they're more, and with the greatest respect to those clubs, they're more attractive fixtures for Kildimo Pallaskenry. And they'll obviously hope they'll have the likes of Tony and Kyle available as the championship goes on as well.
And that's it. Like, what's obvious tonight is they need their experience. You know, big, strong, physical men. Like, and you know, the two boys are huge losses to them. And you know, Liam Sullivan was there some years ago. He was in the panel with us, and he's gone travelling. So they're big losses. You know, when you've got a young team, you're trying to help them along, and you come up against, and like we make subs there in Newcastle, and you're not weakening the team. You know, and you're bringing on the full back from the Calton Cup final, and a panelist. There were two subs in from Newcastle tonight, so that gives you kind of a depth of the strength of the panels. And but look, Kildimo, there's no towel being thrown in. They keep banging away, and that's a great side that'll come through in years to come when they grow and develop. They'll remember nights like tonight and how difficult it was, and they'll learn us how to, you know, manage a game and how to turn the screw on teams as they get older. You know.
As Mike Quilligan sends it high, sends it long, lovely take by O'Doherty out of the middle, looking for someone in support. Brian Hurley is there. Brian Hurley looks for another runner inside. That's Lee Wolfe. Wolfe gives it inside to Owen Hurley. Hurley skies it, yeah.
Owen has had 4 wides from play. Brian has had 2, and it's fair to say they're all scoreable. You need to be, if you're going progress in a championship, you need to be, you do really need to be
5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 in those, yeah.
You know, they've had 6 shots between the two of them, 6 wides. Okay, one's kicked a 2-pointer, a free, and Brian's kicked a point, but you do really need to nail those.
Kevin Walsh goes along with the kick out again. It finds its way through to Paddy Hartigan. Hartigan a little bit wasteful with the possession. Newcastle West again get it back easily. Mike O'Keefe comes out with it, just steadies himself up and finds someone in a easier position. Ball carried through the middle. It's Ian Corbett. I don't ever remember him scoring 3 goals in a Limerick senior football match, but he's done so this evening.
He didn't score him in soccer matches when he was younger. Football
he
matches
didn't.
now.
Very good. Yeah, it is a rare feat. I know Mike McMahon got a hat-trick a few years ago against Galbally in a group game as well, en route to winning the county, but they are rare in fairness.
They are indeed, yeah. You know, scoring 4 goals is a rarity at times, you know. Yeah. So
And here is Ian. Sends it across. All hands to the pump defensively, or all hands that are allowed to be put to the pump, as Owen Hurley carries it across. I think Kildimo Pallaskenry will be delighted in, I use that word flippantly, but they'll be happy that there's only been one goal conceded in the second half, because potentially there was a case for Newcastle West cutting them open time and again, but they've stemmed that flow ever so slightly, as Lee Wolfe, I think for all his endeavour this evening, deserves a score, and it's a nice one just inside the arc and brings them to the 20-point mark with a nice score to bring him to 4-8.
Yeah, I see second score tonight, but that was a bit more easy in how he did it. He wasn't rushing the shot, and he struck it, made good contact with it and followed through, and he wasn't hurried, he was measured, what he was doing. So some of the shots that the boys have took tonight, they've been kind of a bit hurried, and that's a poor counter attack there. Thomas should have gone straight into his hands, really,
to hands, and it would have been a hell of a lot easier to work something there.
Yeah, you had a chance to.
Yeah, Shawnee Hartigan gets it in splendid isolation. Very, very, very nippy player, and his ball is gathered. There's going to be a free coming here. It's an easy decision for the St. Helens referee, as the number 30 is fouled. That's Gary Sheehan. Peter Nash will trot over, and it's a rarity as well that you'd see a team not score in a half of senior football, but Peter Nash can obliterate that prospect here as the sun starts to set on this game, and indeed here in the Bog Garden. Nash with his well thought out routine steals a few yards and curls it. Where's it gone? Oh, it's off the post. Just one of those evenings. They've hit the posts in both halves, and it was an evening where they need every single one of those to go over, and a little bit more besides, but probably sums it up for them. And they'll be back in Senior Hurling Championship action next week, as will Newcastle West. But if you're Newcastle West, you've got the 2 points. You haven't been overly taxed, and they can I suppose reaffirm their focus for, who did I say they were playing? Yeah, St. Kieran's. There'll be a bit of clipping in that one anyway in a couple of weeks, so they'll know each other very well, is what I'm trying to say.
That's a derby game, and there are always good contests, and there's always good atmosphere at them, and have a good bit of banter, and look, they're the kind of things we grew up being involved in and going to and looking forward to, and that's what the GA needs, that kind of bit of rivalry with your close neighbours, and have a group clean competitive contest, and so look, I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that again in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, I'd say that we don't have long left, so I'm asking you for your man of the match at this point. We'll call it even before the whistle. I think it's done and dusted anyway, whoever it is, but who would you be leaning for this evening?
I'll go for Lee Wolfe. He's been at it all through, I'm sure we'll get plenty of slagging behind boys' call when Carbus kicked 3 goals, but I think Lee's been involved in the game and involved in a lot of the plays that were leading up, and his performance wasn't the whole pile like Ian, and how he approached himself and how he
just a different part of the move, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, how he powered through, and he's a bit of work to do in his finishing, I would say, but we'll give, but he was a kind of a smaller mini version of Corbett, and how he played the game all through, powering at them and going at them, and
he's the man. Yeah, Lee Wolfe, so is the player of the match. He's wearing the number 8 shirt. He opened the scoring and he closed the scoring. So full time here in the Bog Garden is Kildimo Pallaskenry 4 points, Newcastle West 4-8. I thank Billy for his company here this evening. I'll go down and see can we catch a word from the winning camp, maybe in the form of Lee Wolfe, maybe with someone else. But do stay with us. We'll have the highlights coming up for you shortly, and we'll be back with a word from Newcastle West in a couple of minutes.
DB Printers. General printing for headed paper, business cards and complimentary slips. All types of memoriam and acknowledgement cards, posters, tickets, flyers, lottos, NCR docket books, etc. DB Printers, Newcastle West. Best to luck to Newcastle West footballers this evening. O'Sullivan Centre Clarina, your one-stop shop. From Roosters Piri Piri to Caramico Pizza. Centra Clarina satisfies every craving. Pamper your pouch at our wash and wag station or grab a coffee at the Creamery Cafe and relax in our seating area. Experience it all at Centra Clarina.
The Mike McMahon spots though that there's a runner out there. The advantage is being played, and it's sent goalward. The umpires agree. It's still with the blue shirts of Kildimo Pallaskenry. They're working around the back. Is there a chance here? It's going to be his backroom team to lead this one forward as they turned it over. The fight for possession inside, hacked away by Eddie McLaughlin, but only to give it back to Sean Murphy. Murphy through the middle is going to get a 1-2 here, is he? It's Ian Corbett. Corbett buries it to the top corner. Play will go on. Foley comes inside. It was protested, it was out. Ian Corbett hand passes it in around the back. Is there a chance of a second goal in quick succession?
Oh,
it's kicked to the net.
They've been caught twice.
Well, a long way from goal.
Somewhat. And the ball goes above.
You can see some of the flags here floating as we speak as Nash from a very trick. That'll show you.
We're fast to criticise officials, but it was not like, so that's not good. But, and one thing Kildimo are doing when they attack, when they go wide.
Owen Hurley has a go for 2 to see what is now 40 metres from goal, but he's about
considered 30 yards, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you'd be kind of tell a fella that's an easy enough kick, but really just have to wait for someone to fall asleep in the Kildimo Pallaskenry defence as Aaron Neville gets on it. Neville goes around the back. There's a bit of a screen there in front of him, sends it inside. It's Corbett looking for another one. Buries it. Absolutely buries it. And they were patient in the build-up with so much time for Hurley to attack. Mike McMahon wanted it off the loop, and Hurley decides to just turn onto his left. Kick out is lost, and immediately the free given and immediately knocked inside to Brian Foley. Foley to Corbett on the run. Corbett will want this back, I'm sure. Goes out the back door. Corbett's there to tap it in, and there's the hat-trick.
What holding football in Newcastle, and so his experience alone, his strength, his size, and so that's and you can go back at him saying, lads, we're not, whatever you have to say to him to get them to focus in terms of.
Case for Newcastle West cutting them open time and again, but they've stemmed that flow ever so slightly as Lee Wolf.
I'll go for Lee Wolf. He's been at it all through, I'm sure we'll get plenty of slagging behind by his call when Corbett's kicked 3 goals, but I think Lee's been involved in the game and involved in a lot of the plays that were leading up, and his performance wasn't the whole pile like Ian and how he approached himself and how he
just a different part of the move, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, how he powered through and.
Make sure you hold it up some bit near your motor. Yeah. Count is in there now. The highlights on that there was many. Jesus, I thought you wouldn't. I thought you would have didn't score in the first second half. Yeah. Go. You're very welcome back to Rathkeale for a full-time reaction here as Newcastle West claim a second victory in the Irish Wire Products Limerick Senior Football Championship. Delighted to say I'm joined by Newcastle West midfielder Lee Wolf. Lee, 4-8 to 4 points. You must be very, very happy to get a comfortable victory like that and get a second win on the board.
Yeah, definitely thrilled now. I suppose we scored 4-8, but we definitely left a bit behind us, so plenty to work on over the next few weeks, and we'll drive it on from there. Yeah,
I think it was maybe 13 or 14 wides. I'm not sure, were you aware of that yourself, or did it feel like you left maybe a handful of scores after you here this evening?
It did, yeah. I suppose conditions were definitely tough, but definitely our execution let us down big time there, and something that we'll definitely be working on going forward.
Talk to me about Ian. I know there'll probably be a bit of slagging now that you were picked as man of the match, but Ian got a hat-trick, surging runs. We've seen it time and again with Limerick, we've seen it time and again in the black and white in Newcastle West. He's a phenomenal asset, and I think the lads spotted his runs here this evening and he profited from him.
Yeah, definitely. Ian's a phenomenal athlete. I suppose it was only here last year, probably 12 months ago, that Ian tore the hamstring off the bone and went through serious surgery. And character, it's like Ian's character, what he did to get back and put in 3 goals there tonight. I don't know how he didn't get man of the match there, to be honest.
Yourself, you brought plenty of energy to it. You're probably feeling, you're looking fit anyway, I must say, standing here in front of me. I suppose that's your game. There is a lot of kicking now in the game with the new rules, but your game is still very much built around running and guys getting off the shoulder, getting involved in the attacks, because there's no point in playing the traditional game with 3.5 Ireland. You have to join in, because that's where the chances will come from.
Definitely, yeah. Look, I suppose we know every man has to put in 100%, and if it's only 40-50 minutes, we've plenty of lads to come in there off the bench. See Ruan and Darren and Keefe coming on there today, and Niall McAuliffe, so plenty of lads there to come on, and Emma to come back as well, so it's great. We're all pushing each other there in training, so fitness needs to be up, and you have to give it your all while you're on.
I see the 4 subs there going through their running routine there, but I mean, what a quartet to have to bring on. You mentioned Emmett missing as well, but when he made those subs, Billy remarked in the commentary, the team didn't get much weaker, like.
No, definitely not. No, I suppose it's something we've been trying to work on. Just when the next man comes in, he drives it on, and it's next man up the whole time. Brian Nick's there as well. We've plenty of lads to come back, and hopefully they'll drive it on now over the next few weeks and take us where we want to go, and hopefully that'll be semi-final to keep the ball rolling. Yeah,
it's obviously direct route you want again. You were in that semi-final last year, and I suppose came unstuck in this very venue against Adair. But the motivation is there. You've obviously won 3 in a row not that long ago. It's only what, 18 months ago since you got the last of those. So you want to get that Father Casey Cup back in Newcastle West.
Definitely, yeah. Look, the hunger is there from last year. I suppose we've a couple of older lads probably pushing on, and they're driving it on as well as the younger lads coming through. I suppose every night of training it's just dog eat dog, and we go hard at it and go hard for the hour and try and drive it on.
Okay, thanks very much, Lee, the man of the match, and we're signing off here in the Bog Garden. A reminder, next week we will have 4 games streamed from the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship, so do stay tuned for those. But as I said, Tom Clancy signing off here with a victory for Newcastle West.
DB Printers, general printing for headed paper, business cards and complimentary slips. All types of memoriam and acknowledgement cards, posters, tickets, flyers, lottos, NCR docket books, etc. DB Printers, Newcastle West. Best to luck to Newcastle West footballers this evening. O'Sullivan Centre, Clarina, your one-stop shop. From Rooster's Peri Peri to Caramico Pizza, Centre Clarina satisfies every craving. Pamper your pouch at our wash and wag station or grab a coffee at the Creamery Cafe and relax in our seating area. Experience it all at Centre Clarina.